Hey everybody, the purpose of this video is to get you some solutions to this little homework. It was the temperature of the hot tub extended. So what we've got here is the same exact data you looked at in your last homework, which is the, let me make this a little bit larger so we can see it. It's the same warm-up temperature. So I stick the water in the hot tub and then turn the heaters on, and then we keep track of the temperatures as time goes on. And all I'm having you do over here is, we'll do this more in a second, is we're plotting the points as they go up. It's the same T-table from the previous homework, but we're doing it in a two-dimensional graphical way. So 0 hours, 9.2 degrees Celsius, 0, 9.2. 1 hour, 12.2 degrees Celsius, 1 hour, 12.2. So all we're doing is the first number is telling us how far over to go here, and the second number is telling us how far up to go here. And then you put those together and you end up with this kind of like little marching plot as it goes up. Okay, first things I asked you, what are the units on the 0 and the 9.2? I could have just as easily asked you, what are the units on all of these numbers? And hopefully you realize the units are actually just up here. It's hours after you filled, so it's hours. And then here, unit on the 9.2, it's degrees Celsius. Degrees Celsius, which I know is weird. We'll deal with that in a later homework. Okay, I said now draw a line connecting the first and fourth points, and I walked you right through this here. I'm not going to read it to you again because you can read it because you've got it. All right, I said find the length of the rise, i.e. how long is the green line. The green line right here goes from 0 to 3 hours. I don't know what that is. Oh, the rise is 18.2 to 9.2. So if it starts at 9.2 and goes up to 18.2, it must have risen 9 degrees. So this puppy dog right here is 9 degrees centigrade. Length of the run, that's a little bit easier because it's going from 0 to 3 hours. So that's 3 hours. And then I said divide 3 by 4 and include your unit. 9 degrees centigrade divided by 3 hours is 3 degrees per hour. 3 degrees per hour. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so that's number 5, and that's the unit. You might recall, yes, exactly, as you might recall, blah, 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 slope's pretty prominent, blah, blah, blah. Start by adding the rest of the hot tub temperature points to the scatter plot. All right, well, I'm not going to do all of that in here. I will do a couple of them, though. I'm going to do actually the ones that I asked you to do down here, because we actually did these in class today. So I'm actually going to do 4 and 7. So I'm going to insert some shapes that are circular. Let's see if I can make some point-sized things. That's not bad, isn't it? So we're going to paste a point for hour 4. Whoops. Hour 4 is 21.1 degrees. Oh, it's not going to let me do that, is it? Okay, that's all right. I'll do it in here. Hang on. Let's do it here. Let's make it new. Hang on. Give me 1 second here, folks. I'm getting ghetto. Here we go. I'm going to bring this over now. Here we go. There's my scatter plot. Let's zoom it in a little bit so you can see it better. Okay. Now we're going to drop in a circle. Actually, I'm just going to copy this point. There we go. All right. So 4 was 21.1 degrees, so it's right about there. Okay. Let's go back to the homework. 5 is 24.1 degrees. 24.1 degrees. 6 is 26.9 degrees. It's going to be about there. 7 is 29.7 degrees. 7, 29.7, it's about right there. Okay, good. Now, hopefully you're noticing something about these points. They look like they're lining up pretty well, and you're about to see why. I'm going to stop here for a pause, and I'm going to answer number 7, which is the AROC between 4 and 7. I said also add the line and don't forget the unit. So I'm going to come back to my little ghetto paint here. I want to zoom in a little bit more. So 4 to 7, I'm going to draw that line, which would be here. Oh, God, that's way too big. Hang on. Let's make the size of that smaller, and let's also make it not so obnoxiously colored. There. Now what I want to know is I want to know the AROC of that line. So that means I need to draw the rise and the run. I'll do the run first. That's the run. And then we also have to do the rise. I think I did that in green, but I can't remember. Maybe I made that red, and then I made the next one green. Okay, so the rise, I have to figure out how many numbers it went up. It looks like it went from like 20 to 30, so about 10, but let's get the actual numbers from here. 29.7 down to 21.1. No, I was actually off by, it's 8.6. So 8.6 degrees over that 3 hours. So it's 8.6 degrees over 3 hours, right? 8.6 degrees over 3 hours. And if I divide 8.6 by 3, it's going to be about 2.9 degrees an hour. I'm going to we can go to Google if you want. Where's my about equal? That's close enough. It's about equal to 2.9 degrees per hour. Now that, if you think about it, that is pretty darn close to the 3 that we got up here. And because they should be, if you look at these, they are almost in a perfectly straight line. They're not perfect, but they're in close enough to a straight line to assume that this temperature is rising about 3 degrees an hour as it's heating up. That's fair enough. The very last couple questions are, find the AROC between 0 and 22. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to add all the other points. I'm going to go straight to 22 because we don't need all the other points. 22 is 40 degrees. So 40 degrees over here. I'm going to copy one of these points again here. Oh, no, that was wrong. I got to copy it. Copy. 40 degrees at 22. So 40 is about here. All right. Now, my question was, what's the AROC between 0, which remember it was 9.2 degrees, out to 22. Now you might notice something about that line. That line is not the same as this line, nor is it the same as the previous line that we drew, which was this one. Though that one looks an awful lot like this one, that means that they are rising about the same rate. This one right here is not rising at the same rate at all, and the reason is pretty simple. If you look at the run of this one, it's 22 hours. And the rise, I think if we did this in class, it's about 31 degrees. Let's look back at that one. 40 down to about 9, that's 31 degrees. So this one here is actually 31 degrees over the course of 22 hours. And if I remember my math from class, I think we said that was about 1.3 degrees per hour. You might be asking yourself, wait a minute, Sean, how can that be smaller? 31 is bigger than 8.6. You're right. But 22 is proportionally way bigger than 3. In other words, this 8.6 is being spread only over 3 hours. This 31 is being spread over almost an entire day. So this means that it's a slower rate of increase. And then we commented in class, we actually had some fun with this, where we said, no, it doesn't seem fair or accurate, because what's actually happening, and this you might remember from class, is, and I'll draw this with a squiggly line. I think I'll draw it here with a paintbrush instead. Let's go with a nice crayon paintbrush, maybe, with a lighter tip. What's actually happening in the hot tub is it heats up until about 10 hours, and then it starts doing this. So to think that the straight line represents well what's going on up here is actually kind of fictitious. There are actually two different lines going on. There's the heat up line, and then there's kind of the stabilization line here. Once it's up to temperature, it's kind of the way ovens work. When you turn your oven on, it comes up to temperature, and then it keeps it at that temperature by turning on and turning off, by keeping it kind of insulated. You keep the oven insulated, and you only need to keep the oven heated occasionally. It's also the way your heaters in your house work. They only come on when the temperature goes below a certain level of degrees. So anyway, that was what we did in class today. Hopefully this video makes a little more sense if you missed class. If not, you can shoot me an email, and we'll talk to you soon.